Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists. Hello, I'm Dango Rose, and this is the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening.
And I'm Cynthia Davis. In this week's episode, we hear from Denise Boehler, writer and ecopsychologist living in Nederland. We talk about the importance and benefits of connecting to the natural world around us.
We hear this week's music mentions from Jamie Lammers, and special correspondent Maryann Rosen will share an intriguing tale about the history of Labor Day.
And for our final story, Jamie interviews Patrice LeBalanc. Patrice tells us about the Children's Mountain Theater Troupe and how to get your young thespian involved in the musical theater program available for kids across the Peak to Peak.
But first, some news from your neighborhood.
Just a reminder, this Thursday, September 7th, the Nederland Food Pantry and Clothing Closet are available to residents of our Peak to Peak community from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Nederland Community Center. To find out more information or how to donate, go to nederlandfoodpantry.org.
The Mountaineer has a new office in Nederland. The newly renovated space is located at 98 West 1st Street and open to the public. Stop in to place an ad, pick up a copy of the latest edition, or to renew your subscription to both the online and print edition of your local mountain newspaper.
The Peak to Peak Studio Tour will take place September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th this year. The tour includes both galleries and local studios of artists living and working along the Peak to Peak Highway and every community and canyon in between. Enjoy a weekend of art and changing colors across the Rockies. For information on the tour, please visit the Mountaineer website. There will also be a printed guide distributed inside the weekly newspaper and available to visitors coming up to enjoy this first annual event celebrating our talented mountain artist.
Backyard Astronomers. The Nederland Community Library is hosting a new series of educational talks with astronomer and mountaineer columnist Frank Sanders on the first Wednesday of every month through December. Do you want to learn more about what we see in the nighttime sky? Well, be sure to sign up in advance because registration is required. All ages are welcome, yet talks are designed for those 10 years of age all the way to 105. You can reserve your seat by going online to nederland.colibraries.org.
Read more local news and feature stories in print and online at themountaineer.com.
And that's it for this week's news briefs. If you have something to share, you can send requests for submission to info@themountaineer.com. As long as it meets our community standards, we'll be sure to include it in a future episode. Brightwood Music has been serving the Peak to Peak region and beyond since opening in 2008. The full-service music store offers new and used instruments and will even repair the ones you've got. Go ahead and check them out on Facebook at Brightwood Music. Brightwood Music is the best music store with altitude across the Peak to Peak. And now for our lead story. Cynthia speaks with local ecopsychologist Denise Boehler. Listen in as we hear about the important benefits established by connecting to the natural world all around us.
Hi, Denise. Can you start by introducing yourself?
My name is Denise Boehler. I'm a longtime mountain resident, ecopsychologist, writer, rescue dog advocate, but I hail from the tradition of ecopsychology that blends ecology and psychology together to bring people back to nature and help heal the human nature split.
Denise, for those who don't know, can you go ahead and tell us what an ecopsychologist is?
It's a discipline that hails from a blend of three things. Like it's ecology and psychology, but also it draws from the indigenous traditions and Eastern traditions. And there's practices that bring people back to nature. The basic fundamental foundation, if you will, of ecopsychology is it acknowledges that there is a split between human beings and nature. There's a disconnect, and there's been a lot of harm because of that disconnect.
And tell us more about the purpose of the discipline behind ecopsychology.
So it is a discipline that looks to employ philosophies, perspectives, active practices, meditations, vision quests, all those fun things, writings and whatnot to reconnect people back to nature. We have a genetic affiliation with nature, but we've just more or less forgotten it. And so that's been causing great harm because we are part of our environment, and our environment affects us. And you can look at the way our environment is affecting us now, and it causes us harm. So ecopsychology looks to heal that split in various really creative, unlimited ways.
How does someone go about implementing more of this practice into their own lives?
Well, yeah, you could definitely take some meditations and apply to your life. You could read various writings. I have written a number of pieces that have to do with coexistence with nature and wildlife. Up here in the mountains where we live, there's a lot of wildlife that is also just trying to live their own existence.
So being aware is a big first step.
Get it more into their awareness and create a top-of-mind awareness around our respective ways of being, so that it allows for not just our own internal settling down and getting more in touch with our emotions and our own ways of being, but also to honor the intrinsic being of others.
Denise, as an ecopsychologist, can you give us any advice on how we can be more in tune with what's going on in nature around us?
So ironically, because we're doing a podcast, the very first thing I would say is put your smartphone away. Turn it off. Leave it at home. Our technology has served to distract and disconnect us from our immediate environment, whether it's the people in front of us or it's the moose standing at the center line of the highway, or, it's our dog trying to get our attention who's on high alert because he's triggered on a moose off in the distance, and we're looking down at our screen and we don't quite understand that there's another creature in our midst. Our technology has really harmed us in that way, and it's removed us. It can be beneficial, but it's being overused to the point where, and I'm not a Luddite, I promise you, I have a smartphone and my husband accuses me of being on it all the time more than he does, but it's harmed us to the point where we don't take the risks ourselves when it comes to like going out in the backcountry. You see this with people who are backpacking and they've got their little SOS, I forget what the doohickeys are called, where you can get yourself into a spot and then not be able to figure out how to get out of that and hit a button, and search and rescue will come and bail your tushy out of harm's way. In the old days, people the rangers up on Pikes Peak used to call it INS, interfering with natural selection, when they had to go out and find those people, which I thought was kind of funny. Anyway, I digress. But the point is, our technology has really served to sever us from our immediate environment. And the first thing I would say to people who really want to get back in touch with nature is to just put the darn thing away and turn it off.
Thank you, Denise. You may also recall Denise mentioned she is an advocate for rescue dogs. We plan on speaking with her again later in the month as she tells us about her role in saving as many dogs as possible in our area and beyond.
I went after all alone down in Cherokee County. Eyes of fire and a long fur coat, her teeth could carve a mountain. Tracked empty steps to the light of the moon, but she disappeared without warning. Heard a voice call behind my back, a ghostly sound. I hear her howl.
Now we go to correspondent Jamie Lammers, who will be delivering this week's Music Mentions.
And now for this week's Music Mentions. Head to Busey Brews, located at 70 East 1st Street in Nederland on Sunday, September 10th at 2 p.m. to see Grant Livingston performing live. Head to the Canyon Tavern, located at 32138 Highway 72 in Cool Creek Canyon on Friday, September 8th at 7 p.m. to see Karaoke Night, and on Saturday, September 9th at 7 p.m. to see J.J. Frazier performing live. Head to the Gold Hill Inn, located at 401 Main Street in Gold Hill on Friday, September 8th at 5:30 p.m. to see High Lonesome performing live, on Saturday, September 9th at 7:30 p.m. to see the Red Mountain Boys performing live, and on Sunday, September 10th at 7 p.m. to see Martha Scanlon and John Neufeld performing live. Head to Howlin' Wind Brewing, located at 51A Main Street in Rollinsville on Saturday, September 9th at 5 p.m. to see Stone Hall performing live. Head to the Jamestown Mercantile, located at 108 Main Street in Jamestown on Wednesday, September 6th at 5 p.m. to see an open mic night. Head to JKQ Barbecue, located at 200 Gregory Street in Blackhawk on Friday, September 8th at 6 p.m. and on Saturday, September 9th at 5 p.m. to see John Black Dog Ridnell performing live. Head to Knotted Root Brewing, located at 250 North Caribou Street in Nederland on Friday, September 8th at 6 p.m. to see Wumpf performing live, and on Saturday, September 9th at 5 p.m. to see Michael Lenson performing live. Also be sure to head there every Sunday at 5 p.m. to see Jazz Sundays with Black Dog and Friends. Most Sundays at 4 p.m., the Millside Inn hosts an open jam. Be sure to head there at 44365 Highway 72 in Woord to check them out for yourself. And finally, head to the Train Cars Coffee and Kava, located at 101 Peak to Peak Highway in Nederland on Saturday, September 9th, starting at 11 a.m. to see the Peak Vibes Festival. Did we miss you or your performances? Want to submit your music listing in the Peak to Peak area? Do you have updates to your business or to your performances? Please call 303-810-5409 or email info@themountaineer.com to be included in the next print edition or the next podcast of The Mountain Ear.
Thank you, Jamie. Now let's drop in with special correspondent Maryann Rosen, who shares an intriguing tale about the history of Labor Day.
On Monday, September 4th, we will celebrate Labor Day. Always observed on the first Monday of September, it has become a weekend of cookouts, barbecues, and parades, signaling the last hurrah of summer. Marking the holiday in this way seems fitting, as it is a holiday to honor workers in this country. So what is better than relaxing and having fun? Labor Day has deep roots in this country in the 200-plus years of the labor movement and its efforts to improve working conditions. Known also as International Workers' Day, it is celebrated in the rest of the world on May 1st and known as May Day. Remnants of Cold War thinking and May 1st being too close in date to the Haymarket riots have precluded the USA from recognizing that day and commemorating our own holiday in September. The first recorded protests by workers occurred in 1768 when New York journeymen tailors protested wage reductions. The formation of the Federal Society of Journeymen Cordwainers, or Shoemakers, in Philadelphia marks the beginning of sustained trade unions organizing American workers. As the Industrial Revolution continued, the call for better working conditions rose rapidly. By the 1800s, American workers plied their labor for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, in unsafe working conditions. Most businesses gave no breaks, had no sanitary facilities, and workers got no fresh air in any buildings. Children as young as 5 and 6 worked in mills, factories, and mines, earning less than even the adults' meager wages. Unions grew, strikes and protest rallies were held, some violent. In 1882, a Labor Day holiday was suggested. Who advocated for this break for workers is up for debate. Some say it was Matthew McGuire, the secretary of the Central Labor Union in New York. Others say it was Peter McGuire, the co-founder of the American Federation of Labor, who put forth the idea. Whoever it was, the plan gained full momentum after the Haymarket riot of 1886. On May 4th of that year, a bomb detonated near Haymarket Square in Chicago after police had arrived to break up a rally in support of striking workers. 7 Chicago police officers and 8 workers were killed, and between 90 to 100 police officers and workers were injured. This protest was the culmination of many strikes and demonstrations held by workers in Chicago who were fighting for an 8-hour workday. The first Labor Day parade was held on September 5, 1882, when 10,000 workers in New York City took unpaid time off to march through the streets of New York in an event climaxed with a picnic, including dancing and fireworks. Organizers declared the day a general festival for the working men of the city. The goal spread, and after the Haymarket riots, by 1890, at least 30 states were recognizing the holiday. It was not, however, until 1894 that Congress legalized the day. And that year, on June 26th, the Railroad Union, led by Eugene Debs, called for a boycott of the Pullman railway cars, crippling traffic nationwide. The Pullman strike turned fatal and shined even more of a national spotlight on workers' rights. Amid this major unrest, Congress sought to make some peace with American workers by passing an act making Labor Day a national holiday. It was signed by President Grover Cleveland. Interestingly, the Department of Labor was created after this holiday and was the first department headed by a woman, Frances Perkins. The establishment of Labor Day was not a panacea, and workers still had to fight for good working conditions and benefits. The Oxnard strike in 1903, the Almonte Berry strike in 1933, the GM strike of 1936, and the Pecan Shellers strike of 1938 are just a few of the important protests that occurred. Protests and strikes continue to this day to ensure that workers' rights, safe working conditions, and benefits are maintained and strengthened. Things have changed since the Industrial Revolution. However, USA workers still work more hours and have less time off than their Western European counterparts, and there are still safety concerns to fight for. Not to minimize what Labor Day is about, but I'm going to end on a lighter note. Why is there a myth about wearing white after Labor Day, or not wearing white? Well, in the past, there was no air conditioning, and people saw white as a cooler option during the summer months. Once summer ended, white was not a necessity. Also, the month of August found those who could afford it heading to the mountains and the beach, which were clean environments where white could be worn. After Labor Day, people headed back to the dirty cities where white was impractical. None of these reasons continue to be true, so there is now no reason to limit white to summertime clothing. So this Labor Day, rest, relax, have fun, but continue to stand behind workers' rights. And hey, feel free to wear white after Labor Day.
The Mountaineer team is hard at work putting together a new and improved edition of Taste of the Peaks. This publication will feature all the stops and shops offering great food, drink, and sweets across our high mountain terrain. Do you have a culinary-based business or service you want listed? There is still time to place your ad and expand your free listing. So go online to our website at themountaineer.com and learn more about how to be included. Now we hear from special correspondent Jamie Lammers, who interviews Patrice LeBalanc, director of the new Children's Mountain Theater Troupe. She speaks about why they chose the Backdoor Theater for their upcoming performance and what they hope the community will gain from the overall experience.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lammers, and today I'm here with a very special theatrical guest. Do you mind introducing yourself real quick?
My name is Patrice LeBalanc, and I am starting the Children's Mountain Theater Troupe for an after-school program.
So what exactly is the Children's Mountain Theater Troupe?
So this is going to be an after-school program at the Backdoor Theater. We're going to start rehearsing on Mondays, beginning September 18th. And what they're going to do is put on a show. So it's basically rehearsals. And then the performance is going to be on November 27th at the Backdoor Theater. So along the way, we'll have auditions. There'll be singing and acting. There'll be some dancing in there. And we will just be working on the show, putting in lots of theater tidbits and education along the way.
What ages are you gearing the troupe toward?
We're gearing this for children ages 8 to 13. We'll think about 3rd through 6th grade.
And why do you think this troupe is important for kids of that age?
You know, I think there's a tremendous need for theater and theater outlets and theater education in the Big area. There hasn't been anything really since the pandemic for anybody to get involved with. But the thing about offering this as a children's theater is that especially at the elementary age, there's not much that they can do as far as performing art in the area. Once they get into middle school and high school, there's programs in the middle and high school, wonderful programs that they can get involved with. So this might be a great primer for them to get just a taste of what theater and musical theater is before they get into middle school and high school.
Why did you choose the Backdoor Theater as a venue?
It's just a great theater. It's got a face. It's got seats for an audience. It even has some lighting. Even though it's mainly used for movies at this time, they've done many theatrical productions in the past. I've done theatrical productions in the past at the Backdoor Theater, so I was very familiar with the theater. And I have to tell you that the Backdoor Theater is sponsoring a lot of the cost for this, and they are being so supportive for what we're trying to do. They believe in the programming that we're trying to bring there, and so they did welcome us, and they're working with us because they want to see this at the theater as well.
And what roles do you, Patrice, have in the Children's Mountain Theater Troupe?
Well, I wear many hats. I will be the director and the musical director for rehearsals, but I'm also doing this through L&M Productions, which is a production company that we have here, and it produces plays and theatrical work. So I'm also the one that came up with the concept, getting the rights to the production, booking the show, coming up with registration, you name it, and also marketing and trying to get the word out that there's a new troupe in town.
So who else has been supporting this troupe?
Well, like I said, we've got some great community support. Mountaineer Paper is actually one of the great supporters. I've done some advertising to schools when I was working with the schools. They tried to promote it through their schools as well within the music program, and also I'm putting up posters. My husband, Ed Rod, is also the other half of L&M Productions, and he basically just helps on the back end to make sure everything is going along smoothly.
Is there anything else you want to touch upon?
I really want to touch upon why I feel this is important to bring this not just to this community, but theater education in general really can do a lot for the individual beyond just doing the performing. If you think about it, you are really coming and being part of an ensemble so that the teamwork and the connection, the peer relationships, the collaborations are very important. So it's a very social aspect in getting students that may or may not be socially active to go into that setting. Beyond that, it promotes problem solving, creativity, concentration. It builds empathy because when you're exploring characters, you become that character. And so you can build a lot of social awareness and sympathy for people of all walks of life. It is just a lot of fun to do theater. I've never had a theater experience that did not turn out to be lots of laughter and it's a lot of work, but it just is a very fun environment for anybody to be in, especially for children.
And what do you hope the community as a whole takes away from this experience?
I think that if a child can be enriched through the artistic programming and, all those things that I just said, that they're going to be satisfied because their child was enriched because of the experience. And, relationships, like in any ensemble in theater, can go far beyond any production. Students in the past who've been in productions and they maintain those relationships for a long time.
And finally, where can people find more information about the Children's Mountain Theater Troupe?
If anybody wants more information about this, they can call me directly. My number is 303-421-2243. They can go to info@lmproductions.org if they have any questions. And then there also is a link that I can send them if they email me for the registration. I do have to add that we do have a tuition for this. It is $150 per student. However, if a student is not able to pay that, we're going to welcome them and give them a scholarship.
Thank you so much, Patrice, for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. Be sure to check out the final performance of the Children's Mountain Theater Troupe coming soon to the Backdoor Theater.
If you listen out late at night, you'll hear how she atoned me. It's a hallelujah sound. It's hollow, but it's holy. Mother blood, she's crying out an ancient haunting spell. No protection can hold her back. She'll find her prey. She'll tear him down. I hear her howl.
That concludes this week's episode of the Mountain Air Podcast, where everybody's listening.
Visit our website at www.themountaineer.com to read more information about today's guests. Pick up a copy of this week's print edition of The Mountaineer at newsstands all across the Peak to Peak. I'm Dango Rose.
And I'm Cynthia Davis. Thank you for listening.
You name it, we've got it.
Up here in the mountains, things are weird.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.